Right, I made 3 videos on the Wonka films recently. I made a review of Wonka the day it was released, I made a long, half-joking, over-analysis of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I did that, and also an analysis of why the Tim Burton film is much better than people give it credit, but also still flawed and ultimately not my favourite out of the 3. But the music. All 3 films have songs in them, probably because the original book had songs in, so it made sense. It similarly makes sense to rank all of these songs, which are the best, which are the worst, why, that's kind of all you need for an introduction. Originally I was considering doing this video with Kirsty because we were planning on sort of starting a second channel where we both just talk freely about the films we see in the cinema, or talk about the bunnies, or do some kind of ranking videos. We recorded a tier list of Game of Thrones characters the other night, but I decided to get this made now on the main channel because I have done the Willy Wonka videos recently, so it just made sense to put this here as well. But there's 24 songs to get through, plus a little train moving across the screen, so let's get started on that. This one might not be too surprising. In the 2023 Wonka film, Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa sings the same Oompa Loompa Dumpity-Doo song with slightly adapted lyrics to present a brief, I guess, origin story? It's a solid, concise way of providing exposition, and I like the bitterness with which Hugh Grant sings it to Wonka. But I found the original song quite dull and repetitive in the first place, and this one very much just feels like a rehash for a modern film. It also doesn't carry the same ominous feel of mystery to it that the original Oompa Loompa songs did sort of have. Hugh Grant even has a very good role in this film, but the song itself is dull. This is technically 4 songs for each of the 4 kids, however I'm going to group them as one because all 4 would probably be ranked here anyway. It's very repetitive. If it was just a one song played once, maybe I'd feel differently, but it is. The visuals are very bland. It's all basically just the Oompa Loompas doing squats or turning round. It is one of the aspects of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory that reminds you it had a small budget, even for its day. Also, the song feels oddly righteous in the way it condemns these children for, like, chewing gum. Apparently that's a terribly rude thing for a kid to do, but it's far less rude than, like, anything Wonka does in this film. We told in Mike's song that watching television will cause you to have an IQ of 3, and why don't you just read a book, which feels a bit like, as much as I hate to say this stock phrase, a boomer thing to say. And it's also ironic considering this film became so popular due to its repeats on daytime TV. That's where people were mostly watching this. So also a bland song, but this version is the original, so I'll give it credit for that. So I mostly didn't include instrumental soundtracks from these movies, because if I did, this list would be massive. But I did want to include the opening credits music from the Tim Burton film, because it's an excuse to say that Danny Elfman does a brilliant job scoring this film. Like, I can fully understand why people might hate this film, but the music is great. Don't nobody be criticising the music. If we're talking soundtracks, not the actual songs, but the backing kind of instrumental score, I think this film does win. There's a great cozy, wintry feel to the music with a very innocent sort of chimed leitmotif, which is perhaps the one thing that really links Wonka to Charlie in this film. It's played for Charlie, that leitmotif, and for the young Wonka as well. And so I think that creates an idea of Charlie helping Wonka to reconnect with his past and what made chocolate really so exciting. But it's also a very dark and troubled score. This main title in particular feels heavy, industrial, mechanical in its sounds to reflects a lot of the negative light this film deliberately paints Wonka in. With this music, with the accompanying credits that lead you through the factory, you feel like you're getting lost and increasingly claustrophobic and confused in this space. Guided into this dark factory, swept along by a volatile, troubled mind that only at the very end of this film seems to find its peace in the music. So all of that is great, but I'm not scoring it high because it's very long for an opening credit sequence, and because it's not even technically a song. I can't score something high on this list that's not a song.
Put your hand into your apocalypse. Get yourself some Wonka chocolate.
This would be so much easier if the film was out on DVD and I could show you proper clips of what I'm talking about. Because I know a lot of you won't have seen it and won't really know what I mean, and it needs explaining, and I also know there's a limit to the amount of times I can show the small footage from the trailer over and over again this video. Yes, there is a playlist on YouTube and I'm going to link all of them down below to the soundtracks for these songs, but basically this one is a short song Wonka sings as he first stands on a soapbox effectively to sell chocolate to a market crowd. He sings a quick song explaining how his hoverchocks work, how he invented them, why they make you floats, and it's fine. It does very much feel just like Wonka trying to sell chocolate to people, but without much personality to it, really. I do find the Timothée Chalamet Wonka a little clean and lacking in energy and enthusiasm sometimes, and I think, considering a lot of the whimsical elements of these hoverchocks themselves that he's singing about, he himself doesn't feel that whimsical, and I think this song is a good example for that flaw in the film.
Cheer up, Charlie.
According to the comments on my Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory video, a lot of people despise this song. I'm very much in the minority for liking it. I think it's a fairly touching song from a mum who knows her son has it hard. He wanted to win a golden ticket, he didn't, and she's singing to cheer him up, to help him find hope again for life. I think it helps the film hit the necessary beats of a low moment before Charlie then does finally win the golden ticket. Like, I get why people would skip this song, but I think without it this section of the film would be lacking a bit of narrative progression and pace. It would feel like there was something missing without it here. That said, the visuals are very flat. It's just Charlie walking and his mum sitting down to sing. Just shots of his face walking at night, you know? In general, it is a bit flat. Nothing's really progressing here. There's no plot development. Perhaps it might have meant more if his mum didn't completely disappear from the film shortly after this scene, but oh well, it has made the top 20. Okay, like, I made these rankings last night. Looking at them now, I'm not sure why this one is above the Tim Burton opening titles. Maybe because it is so short and sweet. This is the opening music from the 2023 Wonka. I didn't actually include the opening music from the 1971 film because I didn't really have much to say about it. The 2023 film, though, opens with basically pure imagination, but played by a music box, or like 20 seconds of the melody. It's short, it could feel like a dull rehash, but I actually think this sets up the film perfectly as a very cozy rendition of the song that harks back to the childhood memories this version of Wonka has. It sets up the memories of his mum via a scene that is also scored by music box sounds. That creates a link through the audio, which is effective. I think it's a short, sweet, solid introduction that tells you this is a film about recapturing the love from your past to try and make something beautiful. That's principally what's going on here, and I think it also tells you that whilst this film is packed with references to the 1971 film, this is not lazy fan service so much as a loving homage. So yeah, I think to set all of that up with music in a really short moment is quite effective. 19 is still very generous though. Maybe I'd swap places with this and the Tim Burton main title.
Come with me and you'll be
in a world of Anvil, world Anvilation.
World Anvil is a really cool thing, and they're still sponsoring me till death do us part. Listen to me passionately talk about them. World Anvil is an online tool for world building, the anviling of worlds, character creation, campaign building, story planning, and even writing, and a load more stuff that can be great for anyone with creative projects or games. I use it for the planning of my novel. My organisation is chaotic, so World Anvil really helps. I love the way you can create timelines of events with hyperlinks from those pages to a character bio or some other event or information or whatever. Like, my memory isn't the best for the minor details of stuff I invent, so when I'm reading back information about the history of my novel's world and I think, who is this person? I can only half remember. Or what order did these events happen in? Why did that become a social custom? Whatever. I can very easily click a hyperlink to a different page I wrote and check. The ability to create entire timelines based on your own invented calendars and be able to link everything into it, including changes in the maps for if a city gets destroyed or something like that. That is so damn cool. And there are other tools too. Not all of them are ones I need for my novel personally, but they all still look really handy, and I've always found everything pretty easy to use. If it's your thing, they also have a Discord, and they run all sorts of events and community support and stuff, like this summer camp they've been running. It's all really great, and I enjoy getting to promote them. So there is a link in the description, and there's a pinned comment that entitles you to
51% off. Yep, it's 51 now.
all their subscriptions with the code TREE. If you want to try it out first, they have a free version, so you can get familiar. You know, take your time, take it out for a nice dinner, and see where things lead. Yeah. Well done, Anvil.
First you pick up the apparel and you stick it in the barrel. Scrub, scrub.
Another song from Wonka 2023. A lot of them can feel a bit middling, I suppose. This is kind of the Oompa Loompa equivalent in this film, as it has various workers that are tricked and exploited by an arduous contract that forces them into prolonged labour doing laundry. Scrub, scrub is the repeated monotonous refrain they sing again and again throughout the song to highlight how mind-numbing the work is, and effectively how mind-numbing work can kill off a lot of your creativity, motivation for life, eagerness to find a way out of the rut you are stuck in. As a song, it's fine. There's a nice villainous beat at its core, directed by Bleacher and Scrubbit as the villains here, but there's also an odd snazziness to this song that makes it sound a bit like music you'd dance the tango to. That seems strange to me. This is a song that serves a purpose in the film, very opposite to that, and it's a good purpose, but this isn't a song you're likely to go away singing.
Well, there's chocolate. I understand that.
And there's chocolate.
Totally true. Only Wonka drives a hole right through our profit. Yes, but what I'm trying to tell you is that
The longer version of the earlier song from Wonka, instead of him singing it to a crowd wanting them to buy his chocolate, this now comes in a moment where the whole town are in love with this chocolate. It's now all of the town singing this song to express the effect Wonka is having on this place. That's good. It's a song that emphasises not just the taste of chocolate, but how it can lift your mood, how it represents passion in this film. It elevates chocolate in general to be an actual metaphor going on here. Because this isn't just ordinary chocolate, this is a symbol of someone pouring their heart into something that they care about, and you then getting to connect with their infectious passion by experiencing this chocolate. It gets all the town dancing to the same tune, whilst the police chief tries to resist and shut down this kind of chocolate black market. You've got that progression and conflict going on within this song. We see Wonka become a kind of Robin Hood figure in a way here. These soulless corporations concerned only with dominating the chocolate market for profits, set against this young Wonka who just has passion and just wants to share it, no matter how many police are bribed to shut him down. It works. There's good narrative. This version of the song is very Broadway musical in its sound. Because of this joke chocolate Wonka's invented that turns your afternoon into a Broadway musical, but also because it expresses the positive, infectious quality here. It's similarly a catchy song. I'd say all of the songs in this film have good visuals to inject humour, including a fun performance from Phil Wang for this one. What I especially like about the song, the reason I've put it so high, is because there is a feel that all of this could also still technically be some ridiculous advert. Like, before the song starts, we get a bit of seeing a man so lacking in confidence that he can't find a girl to marry, and Wonka is basically like, try my macaroons, they'll help you win the wife you want. And then later in the song, there's a man who's going bald, so he should try Wonka's eclairs that can make your hair grow back. And it's like, wanting to get a girlfriend and wanting hairy growth are two classic kind of scam things that people sell fake products or services for. Is this film playing on that idea with Wonka? Maybe, I don't know, it's just a kind of fun joke that's there. All that said, it's a song that again feels too clean to be as whimsical and as impactful as it deserves. Plus, I think some of the rhymes are quite weak. You know when you hear songs where you can practically feel the writer behind them going, well, what rhymes with this words? And like basing the entire line around that. I get that feeling a lot when I listen to the radio, but I don't like the lines, lost your hair, can't think where, feeling fairly bare up there, don't despair, I come prepared, behold my hair, repair, eclair. It all rhymes, but they don't add much, and the following line that rhymes vanilla with manila also feels a bit bland in my opinion.
If you want a new paradise, simply look around and view it.
So I said I didn't include the opening music from the 1971 film, so I thought as a response I will include the ending music. This one takes the song Pure Imagination and plays it this time slower and led by peaceful, gorgeous violins that creates a perfect conclusion to this film, I think. The earlier version of Pure Imagination is sung with an underlying sadness that here feels resolved, as though Wonka has found peace, and yeah, I like that. Equally, where Wonka sung the earlier version alone, this time we get a chorus to express a sense of togetherness. It's nice, it's sweet, I won't fault it. Despite how bizarre the ending of that film technically is, it does feel really positive and cozy and uplifting, so I think this song plays a part in that.
Candyman and Posse mixes it with love and makes the world taste good.
I also know from earlier comments that a lot of you might have scored this song very low on grounds that it's creepy. And arguably, yes, creepy is one way to interpret this song. I can absolutely see why people would feel that way about it, but personally that's not my feeling. I do take this song at face value as a song about why we love sweets and chocolate and why they often mean so much to kids in particular. There's an attempt to present something pure with this song that blends with the idea of magic. This song opens with the question, how does Willy Wonka do it? And we're told that basically he just does. You don't ask a fish how it swims. You don't question how. Wonka was just born to do this, which is a solid argument for the reality-bending magic of this film. When life feels magical, don't pick it apart and rationalise it, just embrace it for the fun and the passion. That's kind of what this song is saying, I guess. It also does do a good job building intrigue for Wonka before we meet him. I like the line, who can take tomorrow, dip it in a dream, separate the sorrow and collect up all the cream. It's a good line, a song about how dreams and creativity can achieve the impossible in ways that ordinary reality never can. I like it, it's a solid opener. Kirsty kept pointing out to me how one of the kids gets hit by the counter. Yeah, the reason I've not scored it higher I think is because there's nothing progressing here really. The whole song just tells us the same thing that the first line did, and visually or plot wise it's just a man in a sweet shop. Oh, and if they're British they shouldn't be using the word candy. That sounds strange to me, even if the sweet man would be a terrible line. In general, I'm confused about this film being set in England and yet half of the characters having American accents.
Had a dozen silver sovereigns, now I'm somehow down to 10.
I'm arguably quite generous scoring the opening song from Wonka this high up the list. It's not a banger, it's possibly even a little forgettable. Again, it's a problem of being too clean and bland, I think. Not terribly so though, and I think film-wise there's a lot going on here. This song introduces us to Wonka, sets up his character quite well, also his dreamy optimism. It sets up where he's going, why. It introduces the setting of this film and sweeps us through all facets of it majestically, from the town square to the gallery gourmet to the darker underbelly. It also progresses Wonka's character as we see his optimism slowly get washed away beneath a town exploiting him for what little money he has, and there's a lot of good jokes going on here too. Wonka sings, I've got 12 silver sovereigns and a hatful of dreams. However, that number keeps going down with every refrain until the only thing he's got is a hatful of dreams. He's left barren on the streets with nowhere to sleep at night. So, you know, narrative-wise, this song is lifting some real heavy weights. We learn so much, we see so much develop, and thematically too, I think Wonka at first sings that all he's got is a battered overcoat and leaky boots, and that he's got to work my rotten socks off if I want to make ends meet. He's got a ready motivation to do exactly that, only to be ridiculously fined by the police, taken advantage of, being sold an unnecessary map, shoe signing, extortionate veg, his determination slowly ebbing away until he sings, in this city anyone can be successful, if they've talent and work hard, or so they say. But they didn't mention it would be so stressful just to make a dozen silver sovereigns last more than a day. That's perfect setup for the villains of this film, because yes, we're told just knuckle down and work hard and that will make you successful, but that's at odds with the greedy, exploitative villains who will stop at nothing to bolster their power and their profits, and go to any ruthless ends to destroy competitors. It's not as simple as work hard when those with power don't necessarily play by the rules. Solid way to set up Slugworth, Prodnose and Fickle Groover before we actually meet them. So yes, as a song itself it's okay, but I think story-wise, theme-wise and visual-wise this is doing a lot. Where the Gene Wilder and the Johnny Depp films are contained by the fixed setting of a factory, the Wonka film is free to sweep us all around town, from a wash house to a secret chocolate cartel headquarters or anywhere. It has so much more to play with, and Paul King has already excelled as a director of the Paddington movies. We again see a lot of the same directorial flair on display here to add substance and humour and a bit of colour to the background of the music. I think you might have problems with this film, even I do, and I can see why people are cynical about the idea of a kind of prequel film, but I don't think you can deny the flair on display in a lot of this.
Willy Wonka, the amazing chocolatier.
It is some credit to the Tim Burton film that I've scored its lowest ranking actual song 13th on this list. Again, Danny Elfman did a banging job. This one is a simple, small programmed performance from a jukebox that obviously feels like a slightly less good version of the Shrek scene. I still like this a lot though. A ridiculous song praising how wonderful and amazing a person Wonka is. Of course it feels ridiculous and unbelievable. We're not meant to believe it. This is a jukebox programmed by Wonka himself. One that also tells us, despite how childlike Depp's Wonka can seem, he is largely incapable of connecting with the kids, who all find this jukebox too kiddish and too weird, and then too bizarre when it catches fire in a brilliant foreshadowing for the children's fate. Wonka celebrating children's dolls catching fire says a lot. I could score this higher, but I think a lot of this song leans on the awkwardness for its humour. And on repeat viewing, I feel like too much of this film relies solely on awkward humour, as it's kind of one approach to jokes going on here, and that makes this song feel less enjoyable and a bit more repetitive on a second go.
Is it raining? Is it snowing? Is a hurricane a-blowing?
The wondrous boat ride. How wondrous a boat ride this boat ride is. I guess this one counts as a song. It's absolutely terrifying when you're a child, but hilarious as an adult and kind of meaningful. This song begins with a melody from Pure Imagination before instead derailing into this fast, steady, train-like rhythm that then works in all sorts of space-age kind of sounds. It's as though this is a journey into the future. Where can Pure Imagination take us? Well, not just somewhere dreamy, also perhaps into nightmares. This song evokes a deeper layer to Wonka, suggests getting lost in pure imagination isn't necessarily always a good thing. And I think it principally expresses how scary the future can be because of its unpredictability. Imagination advances technology faster and faster with no possible way of slowing, everything in more and more of a hurry. That is genuinely scary as an idea. That's personally what I take from all of these lyrics about not knowing which way we're going, the rowers keep on rowing, there's no signs of slowing. In my mind, it's not just weird stuff for the sake of nonsense. It's a darkness here with some substance to it. Great moment in the film, provided you're not still young.
Somebody to hold on to, it's all we really need.
This will be a controversial ranking. Why so high to a lazy rehashing of a beautiful original song? Well, principally one, it earns this moment, and two, it does something quite different with it that subtly points at something kind of clever. We get this song right at the very end of the film. All we've heard of this melody until now was the 20 seconds or so played on the music box right at the beginning. A music box that expresses all Wonka's memories for his mum and everything they shared. A love that he then pours into his chocolate. Pure Imagination at the very end takes that nostalgic, old, half-lost memories for his mum and finally gets to work them into something of his own. An idea that is made powerful because we likewise have loving, nostalgic memories for the 1971 film, and here we see it worked into something new by a new generation. Call it a lazy cash grab, and often
Carlson, I think yes, no one enjoys the endless string of remakes, but this is a film made by a director with a lot of passion and strong creative idea for what he wants to do, and in that light, the song becomes very poignant. But more so, it does something interesting with the lyrics. You see, Wonka begins singing this to the character Noodle, who is just about to be reunited with her mother. A prospect so wonderful and magical, and so much everything she's always wanted, that Noodle feels hesitant to believe it. Earlier she sang a song all about why she feels it's dangerous to follow hope, how it sets you up for disappointment. So in that light, Wonka sings this song to give her the confidence to proceed. Where Gene Wilder sings a song about the world of my creation, or if you want to view paradise, you simply look around at the factory and view it, sings about how pure imagination symbolises the power to do anything you want to do. Chalamet instead sings that to view paradise you simply look at them, the people you love. Paradise is in somebody to hold. A caring song he sings to Noodle as she walks out beyond him to meet her mother, and we get a sad little moment in the middle of this song there. Wonka is watching this reunion, but it's at a distance to him, and you remember his mum is gone. He's alone. The only person he kinda has is Noodle, and this is his goodbye to her, so where does he go from here? And it's now he starts singing the Gene Wilder lyrics. Now it's about my creation and about living within pure imagination. As he sings, you see his factory appearing before our eyes in admittedly shaky CGI there. It's exciting though. It's a good ending to the film, but it also hints very subtly at the darker man Wonka is supposed to become. A man who sings here about the importance of having somebody to hold on to whilst he himself has no one. And then a man who compensates for that by locking himself away with the wonder and escapism of his own imagination. It's a clever idea. I like it a lot. I was even very much moved on second viewing of this in the cinema. Not so much on the first viewing. I originally didn't much care for who Noodle's mum was, but yeah, it is just a reworking of an already established song, but it does it with meaning in a new context to express something different, and I really like that. Top 10 now. It's the Mike TV song from the Tim Burton film called Mike TV. What I like about these songs is not just that they're all different for each of the kids in this film, but that they clearly reflect their individual personalities with a fitting genre of music. This song is rock because Mike is dark and edgy and full of anger. It sounds like a classic 80s rock song, and I also think a lot of the vocals and the structure is a reference to Queen. This is, in my opinion, the weakest of the children's songs in the Tim Burton movie, primarily because it's the hardest one to follow. I think the vocal effects on the Oompa Loompas already make the lyrics slightly hard to follow, and the Queen-esque nature and the speed of this song makes that doubly so, which isn't necessarily a bad thing that it's a little difficult to follow, but I think in a musical kids film it is kind of something to knock it down on. It's also the least catchy, but it does definitely have the best visuals of the Tim Burton movie songs. We see the Oompa Loompas changing the channel on Wonka Vision to show all sorts of different stuff, which now actually expresses that idea of, like, don't let children watch TV, their brains will rot. It expresses that much better than the 1971 film, because whilst I think TV can be wonderful and creative and moving, we know it's not always that, and that it's not the best for focus. There is this kind of idea of constant channel flicking and never settling, and I think the way people today might be concerned by the effects of social media and TikTok, I think that is what this song expresses about TV in its own time. So whether or not you agree with that, it definitely works.
Chewing, 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 chewing.
Here we are with a kind of disco psychedelic song that incorporates the weird sounds of the inventing room. You know, a lot of people praise these songs in a Tim Burton movie for staying true to the original lyrics from the books. Personally, I don't see that as necessarily a positive. I have problems with the original book, and I don't think the original always means best anyway. And secondly, these lyrics do change quite a bit from the original. They cut out more than half of the original Roald Dahl lines and alter a lot of others to make them seem less mean-spirited than they were. In Violet's case, they change it from just being a criticism of someone chewing gum because it's kind of rude, apparently disgusting, and if you chew too much, you'll chew through your tongue. They change that into a point about unhealthy work ethic. Tim Burton's Violet chews gum because she's a gum-chewing champion. She's determined, a competitive winner. The chewing symbolises that endless work. That is a point kind of in the original book. I'm not going to say it's not there, but this version definitely draws it out much more. It's way better. Plus, this is a pretty good bop too. I like this song. I just prefer the next 8 more.
I'm going to scream.
After I made this list, I asked Kirsty what song from any of the films she likes best, and she said this one. So she's not happy I put it 8th. The reason I have, I think, is because I know people can find the 1971 Veruca Salt a bit irritating and one-dimensional, and it feels very much like Let's Laugh at a Straw Man example of a bratty kid. However, she performs the part well, and it's a damn catchy song. Kirsty sings it most days for some reason. Like, even before we rewatched the film, she was singing this song a lot. I don't know why. And for what is very straightforward visuals, it's engaging. You admire how well this is sung and performed in a single take, what I assume is a single take. How Veruca goes back and forth in her voice between manipulative sweetness and tantrum rage. I hate the way she says cream, though.
10,000 tons of ice cream.
Look, it's a good song, alright? It's a song about a kid with endless dreams for more and more stuff. Kind of similarly to Wonka also endlessly dreaming to do more, find more. Singing how pure imagination allows you to do anything you want to do. It's a good song that really made Veruca stand out as one of the children in that film.
A world of your own, a place to escape to.
The song Timothée Chalamet sings as he leads customers into his newly opened chocolate shop. I like this song a lot. Again, it's quite clean, it's quite straightforward in its meaning, but it's fun. We all need a place of our own when life is tough. We have seen life be very tough in the course of this film. There are literal cartels, corrupt police, slave labour. We know how fragile hope and passion can be in a dark world. That's why we need somewhere safe to protect them, somewhere warm we can go back to. Wonka's chocolate shop is not just that for him, but his attempt to share that with the world. It highlights a positive here that will actually derail into a negative when Wonka would eventually shut himself away from all people and connection within his gigantic factory. It's nice seeing how that habit started as a positive for the younger man. Primarily though, I love this song because the shop looks so damn cool and inviting, and honestly, we watched this film twice in the cinema, and on the second viewing I just spent the entire time seriously considering the prospect of opening my own chocolate shop. It looks that cool. I was like, could you do something like this in reality? It'd be really good to have a shop like this. I was planning it out. Well, first I'll need to learn how to actually make chocolate. I don't know anything about it. That's step one. I need to secure a loan. I was thinking through where the shop could be, how the layout would look, daydreaming about all sorts, and then I remembered I'm a counsellor and a YouTuber who's also writing a novel and has various other side projects, and I obviously don't have time or the ability to open a chocolate shop. What was I thinking? I don't know, but if a song in a Wonka film ignites my childlike enthusiasm, then I think it's doing what it should be doing. I don't even need to say much about this one. It's just an absolute banger. You can't not at the very least tap your foot to this one. I love it. We've got tribal chanting to reflect the Oompa Loompas that this film uses to straight up remind us that yes, Wonka is a bad person with all sorts of colonial connotations. It's got bombastic trumpets, we've got synchronized swimming, beautiful scenery, and some good humour here too. They sing again quite cruelly about Augustus being vile and infantile, and then about boiling away all of the foulness and turning him into something nicer, which in this case is either a metaphor for that old age idea of like traumatize the kids in the vague hopes they learn to behave differently. It's either that or else they're literally turning him into fudge here. There's seems to be a debate about it. Regardless of which, I do find it kind of funny how this song becomes like a metamorphosis story and how they hail the miracle of Augustus changing. Hail it as something divine. It's ludicrous, but it's fun. And similarly, it's also fun in singing to the parents that Augustus won't be harmed, only to then admit he will be altered quite a bit. And yeah, probably traumatized. I think this movie does a good job with the more mean-spirited elements of the original by kind of hinting that maybe they are just a bit mean. It feels more like they are cruelly mocking Augustus here than it being some wise Oompa Loompas dispensing righteous judgment that we're supposed to agree with, like it kind of is in the first film, I think. It's a banger, alright, but it's not made top 5.
Never let down your guard, let them into your heart for a moment.
The most touching of the songs from the 2023 film, you have young Noodle singing about how meeting Wonka and his approach to life almost makes it possible to dream of something better, almost makes her feel happy. For a moment I kind of forgot to be sad is a straightforward line, but a touching one for a child to be singing. It's only for a moment though, and she's afraid to get carried away with it. That softer, worrying beginning to the song that is set against Wonka, who completely interrupts her singing to basically sing nonsense lyrics. The nonsense is kind of the point, the dreaminess, the unreality, stepping out from the ordinary to imagine. What we end up with then is a duet of Noodle trying to resist embracing Wonka's positivity and Wonka trying to brighten her mood, until eventually she relents and the song then explodes into a magical, uplifting climax. Kirsty cried during this scene both times we watched it. I forgive the balloon CGI because the giraffe looks beautiful and it is just a beautiful song. It is about why, as fragile and in need of protection our dreams and our passion as a whole can be, why it's still so crucial to have them, even if they defy reality. Especially if they defy reality. You know, what good is imagination if we don't dream of better, sometimes even impossible worlds? Credit to this film again, all of the songs do have good narrative conflicts playing out within them. Noodle finally embracing Wonka's song, only for it to all get punctured at the end with the arrival of the police. My one criticism I think of this one is that some of the lyrics make it sound like a romance between them, but it's not a romantic relationship. Noodle is a child and Wonka I think is kind of a father figure, but maybe an older brother. I don't know. Timothée Chalamet looks like a child to me as well. God, he's probably older than me, isn't he? God, I bet he is. I'm going to have to Google that in a minute. It's never entirely clear what their dynamic is in this film. I think the film's general confusion there does leave me with a faint mark against this song, but it's still beautiful.
'Cause I've got a golden ticket.
A big part of me wanted to put this song in the top 3, maybe even the top 2. For all the unjust hate Grandpa Joe gets as a character, this song is great. It's an old man via the excitement of chocolate and a factory, and Charlie getting to feel like a kid again. Him walking is a metaphor. It's not him being in bed because he's lazy and pretending he can't walk. It's symbolic of an old man feeling alive again. I like that. You know, it's not a hugely touching song, but the concepts behind some of the lines do touch me. I never had a chance to shine, never a happy song to sing, but suddenly half the world is mine. What an amazing thing. It's just sad to picture a man who's lived his whole life feeling like he's in a tragedy, never really had any sense of fortune. It's a sad idea, and you're happy to see him finally get something, even if it's like...
You stole fizzy lifting drinks!
Like I Want It Now, the choreography and the setting, again, are very simple and contained, but I find them effective and engaging here. Watching an old man delighted how he can dance about their home, Charlie getting wrapped up in it, helping him find his clothes and him slowly getting more and more dressed as this goes along. It's catchy, it's fun, it's light, and it's expressing a point you don't often get. I suppose the way people do interpret Grandpa Joe does slightly taint my enjoyment of it, and you can definitely interpret bits like this as a kind of capitalist propaganda or satire, depending on your view. Really, the reason this didn't make the top 3, I think, is because there isn't much progression. It is basically just a chance for a man to sing about getting a golden ticket, you know? I don't think slowly putting on clothes counts as development. So what did make top 3?
Well, we've got lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots. Why am I singing?
Considering Wonka is made and often acted by the same people in the Paddington films that I absolutely adore, I can't say I laughed as much at Wonka as I expected to. Still, a lot of good funny moments though, and I think this song is one of the standout ones that did make me laugh out loud. A song of the ruthless chocolate cartel leaders trying to bribe the police chief into killing Wonka, pretty much. Eradicating their new competition because he's too good. But they try to persuade him through a song and with bribes of chocolate rather than money, whilst the police chief, Keegan-Michael Key, resists both because it's morally wrong and because he's trying to watch his diet, which is an interesting second point there. Either way, Keegan-Michael Key shows how great his comedic ability still is throughout this song in the way he gets confused by them, the way he accidentally finds himself singing. He keeps stepping out of the rhythm to try and talk to them, to say things like, "Listen, fellas," only for them to just keep on singing over the top of him. And I just love the way when the chief at first says no to their offer, they then hit him with the hard sell and literally perform cabaret to try and convince him to accept the bribe of 1,000 boxes of chocolates. It's so dumb, I love it, making chocolate into a kind of flirtatious seduction. Peering out behind Feather Fan singing, "Do you have a sweet tooth?" Then coyly whispering, "Me too." It's a great joke seduction. I find this a really, really fun song, perfectly choreographed, damnably catchy, and where this film is sometimes lacking in whimsy from Timothée Chalamet himself, I do think the villains and songs like this certainly make up for it. Everything is great here, it's just it ends quite abruptly, in my opinion. That's the point, yes, after all of this the police chief just giving in and agreeing to their deal, but it's still a very sudden ending. Another song I find really fun. This is a very Beatles-esque, dreamy, hippie, airy song complete with use of sitars that sings in such an upbeat manner about Veruca getting to find some new friends. The comedy is in how jarring it is. Veruca was sent down a garbage chute and they're singing about her making friends with an old oyster clam and other junk like it's the most wonderful of unions. The joyful purity of peace and love, I guess. I don't think that jarring nature would work for the comedy unless this song was so genuinely incredibly uplifting, because it is, you do feel it, and I think the genre itself is feeling it. Again, hints at Veruca being spoiled and demanding, yes, but also a faint possible positive of someone seeking wishfully after things that should be impossible, that's not always bad. I think linking that to some of the idealism of the 60s is a good idea. Yeah, good song. Not a moving one, but fun. And I think fun songs deserve praise, especially in a Wonka film. You know, you don't go into these kind of films wanting to be moved and massively grappling with heavy weight. You want fun, and this song is that. But it's not number one. What is number one? I think you already can guess. I think you knew before we even started this list what I was going to put as number one. It's so obvious.
If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it.
I love how eerie this song's beginning is. The kind of clock-like chimes that hint at something magical, but it's also ominous and is complete with sounds of, like, a world waking up, coming to life. That itself is a perfect introduction to getting to see the factory. It's the best visuals of this whole film. Even still today, it looks vibrant and interesting. I like the way Wonka leads them with these very confusing movements that keep them guessing and forced to follow his rhythm rather than their own. I feel like that's a nice little metaphor. Only after that does he let them run free, but this is clearly his world. It's his world he's singing about, and yet Gene Wilder's so beautifully sings this all with sadness. Sadness permeates in the background of this Willy Wonka in practically every scene. Subtle, but there, which highlights how deft a performance this really is from him. How much work he went to for what was originally seen as just a low-budget kids film. Getting lost in imagination is wonderful and pure, yet also possibly very lonely. Wonka is a troubled man singing about the fleeting, fragile, impossible nature of chasing your imagination, and I just think that's great. It's not so sad that it removes the wonder, and I think as a kid you don't even notice the faint tinges of sadness here. The delicacy of it is really important to what makes this work. I think it's just brilliant in general. It's an iconic song imbued with so much romance and wonder and tragedy and an interesting structure. I adore it, and it's first place, and you can disagree with all of my rankings except this one, okay? That is my rankings. That's it. I fully expect I'm the only one to rank the Wonka songs as highly as I did. I fully expect a lot of you to disagree with a lot of my points, and damn right, tell me in the comments. Otherwise, like, what's the point in making a subjective video like this? Like it if you like this regardless, though. Subscribe, maybe even support me on Patreon, but otherwise, hopefully see you next time. And as ever, a special thank you goes to Luke Hoare, Treat Trukaba, Michael Gallagher, Flying Spider, Kellyanne Davidson, Billy Lee Myers Jr., Samara Salsi, Joshua C. Follier, Chad Bramwell and Michael Hart. Thank you.